Namaste, Suswagatam, and welcome to our Sunday edition of Words of Wisdom, Gyan Ganga, on our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channel. Today is episode number 222. We started this during the COVID on Ram Navami Day, and earlier on it was a daily program. Then after the relaxation of the COVID restrictions, we made it into a Sunday program at 8 p.m. So we have another important discussion, interesting discussion. Ram Temple. Are we polarizing Indian society by reviving our past? So for the next 45 minutes to 1 hour, Dr. Subramanian, Swamy, and our panelists will be discussing this topic, and a very interesting topic. So without much further saying by me, it is over to Dr. Subramanian Swamy to initiate this discussion on Ram Temple. Are we polarizing Indian society by reviving our past? Over to Dr. Subramanian Swamy.
Thank you, Jagdish. It's not only a question of past in this particular situation. It's basically restoring demolished temples. Just for your background, let me say that we have a record of about 40,000 temples across the country, which have been demolished during Islamic rule in different places of parts of India. And of the 40,000, there was a committee which met as early as 1972 with many of the sadhus and sannyasis. And Guru Golwalkar also attended that meeting. And they came to the conclusion that basically, instead of saying every temple that was demolished must be restored to its original place, they came down finally to an analysis that there are three which cannot be ignored and said, no, let's, it's a thing of the past and so on. And they were, one is the Ram Temple, where Lord Rama was supposed to be born. And that the exact place he was born is a question of faith. It's not a question of proof or facts. And if indeed, if you start doing like that, then there's no religion which can survive. For instance, Christ, how do you know he was born in Bethlehem? And they say that he had no father, and yet the mother conceived and produced Christ. So how can you, question that? You can question it on biological or medical grounds, but a religion doesn't permit you there, because there are so many things which happen in extraordinary ways. So therefore, when the question of faith comes, then there's no question of asking for proof as such. In the case of Ram Mandir, the faith was that Ram was born at a particular place where there was a temple before, and that temple was demolished by Babur's army and replaced with a mosque. Now, this was the situation till, of course, the mosque itself got demolished over a period of time, and finally, of course, now there's no mosque at all. A mosque was built in parts of that old mosque building, and so what happened was this, that the Hindus said, our faith says that Ram was born in that particular place, and they produced, of course, records to show that this is the nature of the palace that was there, and this is the place he was, according to Ramayana, where he was born, all that, and ultimately came to a conclusion that there was a particular place where Ram was born. And there's no other place in the whole country where anybody has said, no, no, Ram was born here. There are a large number of Ram temples all over the country. But there is only one place where it was believed that in Ayodhya, Ram was born at such place. So the Hindus had a temple before. That temple was demolished because after the archaeological survey dug up the ground, they found so many aspects of the temple was there under the ground, and had a masjid built on top of it. So the question then became, we want that masjid to go and we want a temple to be made. And this was decided by a committee of sadhus and sannyasis and people who were spiritually very inclined, like Guru Golwalkar was inclined. And so that led to the situation where it began to take shape. The committee also said that we are looking at the whole picture and come to the conclusion that there are three places where temples are demolished, and those three are the only places we want restored. The remaining 40,000 for which we have a record, they can be shifted and built, because there only the idol is religious for us, and the idol is there. Then with the idol you could move to another place nearby where a mosque. We have to go away from where the mosque was built. We don't want to demolish that mosque, and we'll build another temple a distance away. But these three are places which you cannot substitute. One is Ram temple, the other is Krishna Janmabhoomi temple, and the third is Kashi Vishwanath. Kashi Vishwanath, Lord Shiva brought down the Jyotirling and planted it in a ball of fire. He planted it there, and it was demolished 3 times. First time by Muhammad Ghori, and then there was another Muslim marauder who came, and he did it, and finally it was Aurangzeb. The difference between the previous two who came and demolished this mandir that was there for the Jyotirling, that was rebuilt, because Gori came, he demolished and went away. The other fellow came, I forget his name. He came and he demolished and went. So when the first was demolished and Muhammad Ghori went away, they rebuilt that temple. Then the second chap came and he demolished it and he left. So they built it. Then when Aurangzeb came, he said that this time we will build what the Islamic writings and Quran and all do not permit. That is, to build a mosque on top of a existing religious building of another religion. You can demolish that temple or church or whatever, but you cannot build your masjid on top of that. That is the thing. But Aurangzeb said, if you don't build it on them, on the same spot, then you will have a problem that they will rebuild it again. So it's there in his farman, and I know why this is so, because this farman is still available in our museums. So now, so the question of rebuilding where a mosque stands today comes on this question of Kashi Vishwanath also. And then there is a third one where Krishna was born. And that, you see, a mosque is built there also, where he was born. And whoever is a Krishna worshipper there says, no, this is exactly where it's built, where there is a structure of the mosque. And there was in 1965 or 66 some business people got together and didn't want this jagara to continue, so they made an agreement with the Muslim community, and they agreed that they will build a nearby place, a Krishna temple, and the existing mosque, which Aurangzeb was the one who got it done, that in Mathura can continue. Now, I don't know who these people were. I think there were 6 people, what authority they had, but they did it. And there is a temple today in the complex where masjid is also there. But, people say that ultimately where the masjid is, that is where the place Krishna was born. So we cannot rest till that happens. So therefore, Krishna temple, although many people said there was a solution in 1966, that solution is not acceptable. And therefore, where the faith tells you Krishna was born, that place has to be restored. So there are 3 places out of 40,000 plus, only 3 we want restored. So this was the view of very, very prominent sadhus, sannyasis, and powerful people who like Guru Golwalkar, and they all agreed that yes, this 3, and then other things we will rebuild those temples, but you can shift it around, and you don't have to build it where the masjid is. So please understand this when people say, "Oh, this whole thing is going to set fire on the whole country," and all. None of it is. In fact, all 3 are in only one state, and that is that is Uttar Pradesh. In Uttar Pradesh, there is Ram Temple, there is Krishna Temple, and the Kashi Vishwanath. All 3 are there. And if no other part of India is affected, no other part of India's mosques are affected, the question even doesn't arise there. So therefore, all these people who are putting out, "Oh, this will create havoc and they will create this and that," what do you mean? I must tell you one thing that has to be said, which is not said enough. In 1947, the British decided to partition India into a Hindu India and a Muslim Pakistan. The Muslims who wanted to stay in India, although the British had provided for exchange of population, and Dr. Ambedkar was fully in favor of that. But at that time, Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, following him, said, "No, if any Muslim wants to remain in India, we have no objections, and they can stay." In Pakistan, most of the Hindus have been killed. Now they are down to 2%. They were 32% at the time of the partition, and now they are down to 2%. So same thing in Bangladesh. Hindus get killed all the time, and we don't stand up for it, it seems. So I would say today, we are today saying to the Muslim community, give up these 3 places. One place they agreed after arguments. People ask me, "What was your contribution?" Sometimes, in a friendly way they ask. If they ask in a hostile way, I say, "Get out, who are you?" But in a friendly way, they ask me, "What was your contribution?" My contribution was this: that sometime in 1966 and 2016, Ashok Singhal called me to the VHP Karyalaya and cried and cried in front of me. I was really surprised that a man, such a tough man, who's been through a very trying times, would cry like this. But he cried. He said, "I am not going to be able to see in my lifetime the Ram Setu to be rebuilt. So I want you to take over from me." So I said, "Why me? I have nothing to do with this. You see, you asked me for Ram Setu, I did it. But that was only after Vajpayee, who was the author of that Setu Samudram project, and which was projected to divide, cut through the Ram Setu. That I thought was your internal matter. At that time, I was not in BJP, because when BJP, Janata Party broke up and Vajpayee insisted on creating another party, BJP was created, and at that time they adopted Gandhian socialism. So I said, I will not come into this party. I have was in Jansang because I didn't want to be a socialist. And now you become a socialist also, then I am not coming. So I stayed in Janata Party, which had Gandhian values in its election publication. So anyway, the issue was that Ashok Singhal told me this, and then he said, tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the BHP Vishwandeva Parishad's office in Delhi, in North Avenue, please be present. So I went there, and immediately where Ashok Singhal was sitting in the stage, he grabbed me, brought me, and made me sit next to him. There's a picture of it, which is available easily. And that there he just got up and said, my health is such that I'm not going to live long. And after thinking about it, I've come to the conclusion that Dr. Subramanian Swamy, if entrusted with this, he will be able to do it. And there were all these big shots. Champat Rai, who's today in charge of the entire construction in Ayodhya, he was there. He was one of the prominent leaders. Now he's the general secretary of the Vishwandeva Parishad. And they were all taken aback because nobody knew he was going to say that. But then having he said it, they all accepted. And they left it to me. Now, why I'm telling you this is the entire dispute between the Hindus and Muslims was, is this ours or is this Muslims' building? Now, Muslims' area. Now, the thing is that it was basically reduced to whether the pujaris of Hindus said that we are the ones who were looking after the temple all these centuries, and our ancestors were looking after, then we looked after, and therefore we are saying that this is our property. And the Muslims said, our Waqf board says that once it becomes part of the Islamic buildings, then we cannot respect anything else, and we'll stand by it and fight it. So ultimately, they were both went to the Allahabad High Court. It was originally the lowest court, but then it was elevated to hearing in the Allahabad High Court. And in Allahabad High Court, it took maybe 24 or 25 years. And that 25 years later, in September 2010, in 2010, the Allahabad High Court ruled that 2/3 of that area, disputed area, will go to the Hindus, and 1/3 will go to the Muslims, side by side. Now, both were against it. Both opposed it. Both Hindu litigants and the Muslim litigants opposed it. So they came to the Supreme Court. And in Supreme Court, after they filed it, didn't consider hearing it for 6 years. 6 years they didn't hear. So luckily I had run into one of our Chief Justice. I will tell you, K.R. Singh is one of the persons who should be remembered for the initial push he gave to me in particular, and the ultimate way it was picked up was because of what he started. And wow, I ran into him in the Supreme Court, and then I took him, asked him, "Can I ask you a question?" Then I asked him. So he said, "What is it that we can decide? The High Court says 2/3, 1/3. Now they come here, and what are we going to say? Give it to the Hindus? I mean, there'll be a riot. So it has to be maybe 3/4, 1/4. But will that satisfy the problem? Both sides will not agree. So better thing, let it lie there." Then I told him, "You must tell me some way." And he told me, "Yes, if you can think of a new way of looking at this problem." At that time, there was a lady lawyer whose name who took a promise from me that I will never reveal it. Understandable, the kind of position she is. She told me that what you should look at is the fact that these people are only looking at it as a property issue. You say it is my fundamental right. I said, "What do you mean by fundamental right?" He said, "You have a right to play." And the spot where Ram was born is by faith identified, and that is under the mosque. So therefore, you say, I am entering this matter because I have a faith question, and therefore I should be allowed to argue it. And that's how I got into it. And finally, the court, after hearing everybody, including those who came with their 1/3, 2/3, or whatever divisions were there, after hearing everybody, 5 judges, and I must give them a lot of credit. It was headed by Mr. Gogoi, Chief Justice Gogoi, a very fine mind. And the committee with one Muslim in it unanimously decided that on the question of faith, this area belongs to the Hindus, and the Muslims may be given another place to build their mosque. By the way, let me tell you, mosque is a building. It's not a religious thing. Mosques are broken regularly in Muslim countries. You go to Google and put down number of mosques broken by the government of Turkey, for example, which is a very fanatic Muslim country, and they will give you the list of all the mosques that they have demolished. And Saudi Arabia, they do that. They won't do it to Mecca. Mecca is not only a mosque, but something more different than that. So all the Muslim countries regularly demolish mosques and build a new one or renovate the old one. All these things are there. So there's nothing special about mosque. Mosque is a place to read namaz, and namaz can be read anywhere. It can be read in your drawing room, it can be read on the middle of the road, it can be read in some garden, and it can be read in the masjid, which is meant for that. So Kashi Vishwanath is facing a mosque which is only for reading namaz. We can build them another place and say, you read namaz here. So this is what we have told in the Ram Mandir matter. And in the Faizabad area, which is also now called Ayodhya, there the Muslims are building at money paid by the taxpayer, namely the Indian government, and they are building the most magnificent masjid possible, but far away from where the Ram Mandir was to be built. So the Muslims also cooperated. They said, okay, we'll build it somewhere else. And this was also an argument. What is your thing? And in this argument, in fact, a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court also had put it out in an earlier hearing, which was done. So all that was needed to be done now is that You argue that we won it, and the whole land which is there, which Narasimha Rao, to his credit, had nationalized every plot of land in the large area of 70 acres, and said this whole thing will be for Ram Mandir when it is going to be built. Now they all got lovely honorary, they got compensation. All the people whose house was nationalized, they got compensation. Everybody satisfied. Everybody see the signature. Now I don't know what happened to Mr. Modi. Suddenly, I found that he in January of 2019, he suddenly comes with a petition and calls all the people involved, Vishnu Parishad, RSS, etc., etc., but doesn't call me. And there he has Mr. Gurumurthy, who's the most crooked mind in the whole world, and he says that we've got a new strategy, and the new strategy is that all the land which was nationalized by Narasimha Rao should be returned back, because it was unfair and all that. And that would have been the end of Ram Mandir. They filed an application in the same Supreme Court where I was arguing for Ram Mandir. And I must say, to the credit of 5 judges of the Supreme Court, they ignored it. Even though the petition was filed by the government secretary, a man of high standing, he signed the thing, and it was to be argued by chosen lawyers, and the whole thing would have gone for a 6. Fortunately, thanks to the judges, they said nothing doing. We won't even look at it. And today, Mr. Modi wants to claim the entire credit. I did it, maine kiya, and nobody else should come, and so on. Fortunately, he couldn't stop me from coming, but I didn't go, because this looked like some kind of carnival where you have all these people sitting in the hot sun waiting for. All these came, sat in open air, and they couldn't see the Ramlila being installed because it was deep inside the building. And then all that they saw was Mr. Modi walking and giving a speech. So it is their karma. I can't do anything about it. I didn't go. And as I announced, and as a Vishnu Parishad gesture, we are on the birth date, exact birth date. I don't know how this 22 January was selected, but anyway. But on the birthday of Lord Rama is on 17th of June of every year. So 17th of June.
17th April.
April, excuse me, sorry. 17th April, we are going to 16th and 17th of 2 days. We're going to have a Virat Hindustan Sangam general body meeting or a conference, and we are going to invite as many people who also want to come, even if they are not members of the Virat Hindustan Sangam, and we're going to celebrate it on Ram Navami, as it's called, the birthday of Lord Krishna. That is the day it should have been different, you see. So, but I don't know why he did not 22nd. Maybe it was good for election purposes. I don't know. But anyway, so having said all this, let me tell you, as so many of our sadhus and sannyasis and the RSS chief Golwalkar, Guruji as he is popularly called, decided that we will only insist on 3, which are places where we cannot find them in any other place. Which are the 3? The Ram Mandir, because he was born there, therefore there's no other place. Nobody has ever said there is any other place. And then there's Krishna, who was born in Mathura, and there's no other place. And the masjid is presently standing on top of that. And then this Kashi Vishwanath, where Lord Shiva himself put the Jyotirling there. So we can't say no. Of course, there is presently one Kashi Vishwanath temple, but that was temporarily put there, built by Ahilya Bai, who was a great queen, a very big fighter. She came and she told the people, I can come and get you to build the same place. But then again, the Aurangzeb's people will come, or somebody else will come, and they will demolish it. So for the time being, till we recover India, Bharat, recover Bharat, we will have one safe place where nobody is going to come to touch it. And that's why the present Kashi Vishwanath temple is not the real temple. The real temple is Gyan Vapi Kashinath temple, where that bull is sitting there waiting for for the Lord to come. So that Kashi Vishwanath and Mathura and now Ram Janmabhoomi, they are all, these three have to be liberated. And for the same principle, because we cannot build it anywhere else. Whereas a masjid can be built anywhere else. Masjid is a building for people to collect together and read namaz. I can read namaz in my drawing room. I can read not only even on the road. I can collect together in the road. You can. There's no railway platform. People do it. Even on an aeroplane, they do. Some people do read namaz, you see, by putting a chadar. So, therefore, it's a blasphemy to say that, no, I've got a masjid and you cannot have Kashi Vishwanath Mandir where Jyotirling is put there by Lord Shiva. And therefore, I'm saying that these three have to be built, and we intend to build it. I have already started proceedings on the Kashi Vishwanath matter. I have got a case pending in the Supreme Court because Narasimha Rao tried to balance by saying Ram Mandir will get built, but those two other, no, nothing more. So I say, no, you can't, that's unconstitutional. And I want it struck down. Places of Worship Act is it's called, to struck down. And I will say, I agree that everything that the Muslim invaders demolished, we don't have to rebuild at the same spot. There are 40,000 such things. We can build it nearby. That's not a problem. And there's nothing religiously wrong with that. But these three are area specific, and they were targeted deliberately. There was one more, Somnath, but Sardar Patel on the very first day of our independence started the thing. Nehru kicked up a real fuss, and then they found that many of his ministers are also going, like Munshi and others. And then finally, Rajendra Prasad, who was the president of India, he also supported it, and Nehru was very, very angry, but they said nothing doing. We don't have that kind of situation today where, party men, maybe exceptions like me, leaving them out, party men can tell the Prime Minister, no, nothing, we don't agree with you. But in those days, after the freedom movement, people used to tell the Prime Minister, no, we don't agree with you. So, therefore, I think we are now in a situation where there's a momentum. I would tell the Muslim community, and this is my last point, I'll tell the Muslim community, please don't stand in the way of these three, because it's going to happen anyway. Second, you must understand, now I'm saying this many, many times, sometimes people misunderstand it, but it is the truth, that the British partitioned India into a Hindu India and a Muslim Pakistan. And then said there should be an exchange of population. when the Muslims from India should go to Pakistan and the Hindus from Pakistan should come to India. But we said no. If the Muslims don't stay, they can stay. And our constitution accepts all religions lead to God. Of course, Islam doesn't accept. Christianity doesn't accept. They say my way or the highway. But Hindus always say, no, yours is also okay. After all, Parsis and Jews stayed in this country without any persecution. They still remember it. So I think we need to understand that this great religion of Hinduism, we cannot allow three of our most dear gods, their temples having been demolished. We have to restore them, and the earlier the Muslims agreed to do it, the better for the whole country, not only for Muslims but for us Hindus also. Who wants to go on worrying about this? We want the normalcy, the economic changes that need to be brought. The fact that the Chinese have occupied 4,000 square kilometers of our territory, although the Prime Minister says koi aaya hi nahi. I don't know what kind of glasses he's wearing nowadays. So I would say, therefore, we want to see an end. We want to have a harmonious society in which Hindus, Muslims, Christians, everybody lives on the basis of their merit and has the right to have their own religious institutions and buildings. That is the kind of thing we want to do. We don't want to put down anybody or eliminate anybody or forcibly convert anybody. We Hindus are a different kind of people. This is a land that has been truncated and given to us, and we will within this build a society which is what can become a Vishwaguru. So over to you, Jagdish. Now it's yours. I've taken a lot of time, but sorry about that.
Dr. Swamy, you mentioned about the affidavit, so I'm just sharing for the benefit of the viewers.
Yes.
This is the affidavit filed by the Government of India, Union of India,
Yes.
to return the land.
It says so, Union of India, yeah.
Yes, and they say they want to return. So they want to return the pieces of the land in this affidavit. So Dr. Swamy, if they wanted to return the land, where would they build the temple today? The so-called Modi claiming credit for the temple, where would have they built the temple if they had returned this land?
They would have built it on Modi's head.
Saying that, please, they return the land. We don't want this land. Thankfully, the Supreme Court had the, sense to dismiss such a silly petition. And we would have had a bigger disaster on our hands if the Supreme Court accepted it. Okay, both of you need not construct land there. You construct in one place, you construct in another place. Then what about Rama Janmabhoomi movement? The Rama Janmabhoomi would have not existed. That existed would have been probably converted into a 5-star hotel by now. So, Dr. Swamy, you covered a good set of Indian topics. So, coming back to the core, do all these actions mean that we are polarizing or not?
No, see, polarizing means something which is anti-Muslim or anti-Christian. Being Hindu, I am Hindu first. All we are saying is that these were there and we wanted restored. At that time, the people who came, they are not the Muslims of today. We don't recognize the Muslims of today as Genghis Khan and Timur Lane or all these butchers who came here and killed so many people, abducted so many women and took them to their own countries. So I think what we want is a harmonious society, and we are religious people, and these temples should be restored. And how many temples are we asking to be restored? 3. We can't give 3. And that too, what you shift your masjid, we'll give you another place. The Ram Janmabhoomi Masjid today, where it is being constructed, you got to go and see it. it is magnificent, and it is at least 4 or 5 times bigger than what they gave up. So we are generous people. We will say that if you agree, then we'll build you a fantastic masjid, not the one in which I can see with my own eyes. I can see all the things that now is coming out in the district courts and the high courts of Pradesh. So that is the thing. I mean, where is the question of Muslims? If you want to be part of India, then you have to do it. And there was no compulsion that we should keep you in India. In 1947, we could have told you, no, go to Pakistan. We have created a country for you. We have taken 1/3 of our country and cut it off and given it to you. You go there. We didn't say that. No, say you want to stay with us, welcome. And therefore, there should be some reciprocity in these matters. The Hindus can't be just pushed around. You see, I'm not in favor of fanaticism. I don't believe that India is a country only for Hindus. We certainly would like the Hindus to flourish, but at the same time, if there is obstruction to that, which is unfair, which is not within the law, then naturally we will take other steps by which we'll get it done.
Dr. Swamy, one last question. I
Yes.
think given the reaction we have seen from the international media about how this mandir built, I think we have done a very good job because we have not polarized. In fact, we have consolidated the Indians together, because when the Western media says this is polarizing, I think we are doing something right, isn't it?
Well, see, the question is, this is not anti-Muslim at all. Has anywhere any demonstration taking place attacking the Muslims? Saying you have lost. Now, we'll do this to you. Nothing of it. The Western nations don't like our country to be a Hindu-based country. I'm not saying that because it's Hindu-based, therefore it can't be. There can be no Muslims and Christians and so on. In fact, many of our minorities, they have had absolutely no problem. Take the Parsis who came from Persia. The Muslims butchered them there. They came to India. And today, Parsis, does anyone even question them? They are in Commander-in-Chief of our army. Manik Shah was a Parsi. We have a Parsi who was a great legal luminary like Fali Nariman. Everywhere you see Parsis, they are doctors, lawyers, so many things. So, and the same thing with Jews. The Jews, in fact, when Israel was created, were leaving, but they said, we say the only place in the whole world where Jews were treated like human beings is India. And we thank you, we'll never forget you. That they went after that when Israel was reformed again. They went back. So this is our tradition. We have so many different schools of the Hindu religion. There's no saying of these book. This book tells you what you can do, what you can't do. Even in Krishna's the Gita, in the end, what does he say? He says, I've taught you. He tells Arjuna, I've taught you everything I know. Now it is for you to decide what to do. That's there in the last chapter. So, I mean, that's been our tradition. So, Muslims and Christians and other minorities need not worry, and I would not bother about anyone saying that.
डॉक्टर स्वामी, एक क्वेश्चन एमआरवी से अभी ज्ञानवापी के बारे में रिपोर्ट आ गया बाहर कि मंदिर था वहां पे, तो हाउ इज दिस गोइंग टू शेप अप?
No, it is never shape up the same way. He asked that to leave, otherwise there's a court case. I've already got a court case pending in the Supreme Court, and now one of my junior associates in my legal chamber, his name is Parth, and Parth is in fact going to Varanasi very soon to see we can get into this thing and make Kashi Vishwanath a major issue. as far as the Krishna Janmabhoomi is concerned, that's very easy to do. So we are going to keep it for the last. But this one, we have to start taking it. I'm surprised. You see, Varanasi is where Modi gets elected. Now he doesn't show. He shows a lot of interest in what happened in Ayodhya, but he shows no interest in Varanasi. Why? Maybe after I bring it to a peak, then maybe he'll get interested. I think, so that I don't get any credit for it. So that might be the reason. But I think it's as a member of Parliament of Varanasi, it is the job of Mr. Modi. It is the responsibility of Mr. Modi to reconvert that area into what was once upon a time a Jyotirlinga, just like Sardar Patel did in Gujarat when he ensured that it was rebuilt, and whatever masjid was there, he knocked it off. It was Gori or Ghazni, I think, who had come there and he had built it. He said, no, it's not going to be there. He removed it. And he built a first-class temple. So I think that is what we need.
अरविंद जी, आप कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं?
Oh yes, Dr. Swamy, our topic today is polarization. Are we polarization? Are we polarizing our society by reviving our past? Indeed, we are. But before I qualify why I'm saying this, let me go back to the political history. In fact, it's not only BJP which is polarizing the society, but every other party has also been indulged in polarization right from 1952. Congress, for about 4 decades, was dependent on Muslim votes, and every policy that they adopted, every new step that they took in the government was only to keep an eye on the Muslim votes, so that Muslim votes get consolidated. Once they realized that Muslim votes are going away from them, then they started accusing BJP that BJP is polarizing and dividing the society in the name of Hindutva and all that. Take regional parties, all regional parties, whether it is Samajwadi Party or it is Trinamool Congress or wherever, there is a sizable chunk of Muslim votes in many states, including Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Maharashtra, and all that. And all these all these political parties are doing is only to have a policy which is of appeasement. So if they can do the polarization, why should BJP also be accused of polarizing? And if BJP is doing it, in fact, there are 2 angles to it. One angle is this. Second angle is, yes, since Hindus were ignored in the past by all parties which ruled in the states and center, the revival of Hindutva glory is of course required, and people are very happy, and you can very well see there is a Hindu wave in the country after 22nd of January. After the Pran Pratishtha Samaroh of Ayodhya, people have put flags on their houses. People have worshipped in the nook and corner of the country and the houses and all that, those who could not reach Ayodhya. And the crowd that is going to Ayodhya, if the number is any indication, this indication is that Ayodhya temple is going to surpass all the records of all other temples in India, including the big ones like Tirupati and others in terms of numbers and donations. So therefore, yes, there is a Hindu wave and there is a polarization. And I think in all fairness, we should accept that there is a polarization. And if there is a polarization, what about the role of minorities? Now, today I saw a statement from the BHP International President, Dr. Mr. Alok Kumar, and he said after ASI, in fact, that was the question Ramesh has put, after ASI has already given a certificate of sort that the Gyanvapi Masjid was built on the temple. Now, if this is so, we already have Ram Temple in Ayodhya, so which is out of dispute now. But the second dispute is Krishna Janmabhoomi in Mathura. So if Muslims do not want any confrontation in years to come or in times to come, they should voluntarily come forward and say, all right, these three places are important for you. One is already solved. The other two, where there are fair indications, legal opinion also says so, that there was a temple before the mosque was built, and therefore Muslims should surrender this. So I think if that happens, this question of polarization will also disappear.
Well, first of all, let me say that except perhaps in Saudi Arabia, two masjids have some religious significance. All masjids anywhere in the world are just buildings for reading namaz. If you want to see how many is demolished, go to Google and see what Turkey has done, what other Muslim countries have done. They have broken it because it's a place to congregate, nothing more than that. And is there in the Supreme Court judgment of 1994, where a five-judge bench, the majority viewed that the masjid is only a place to read namaz, and namaz can be read anywhere. And therefore, it has no sanctity as a temple with a prana pratishtha puja done. That temple cannot be removed at all. There's a totally, they are not comparable at all. So, where is the question? I would say, if you want a masjid, your masjid, you can have it, but not on top of our temple. When you got butchers who came to this country and killed our people, and then stole the women and took them away, all this rotten things, you want to forget all that. So there's nobody saying that don't have a masjid. Of course you can have a masjid. If you want help, we'll give you help also. And we are doing it in Ayodhya. So, but you cannot say that these two temples which are left, because we are not even asking for all those 40,000 temples which we have a record of. We say, no, we'll build it in somewhere else. You keep it here. So, because for there, the place was not sacred. In those temples, the murti was the one which is at the prana pratishtha puja. So, therefore, these two remaining Muslims should come forward themselves and say, we are ready to vacate these places for these two, and please give us a nice place somewhere else and help us rebuild our masjid. If that comes, the unity of India will be extremely strengthened. I don't have anything against Muslims because their ancestors are all from ours. Their DNA test shows that all Muslims have the same DNA as Hindus. So it means that they were once upon, their ancestors were people who had the same DNA as us, means they were Hindus. The Hindus who got, they may have been here a small percentage, which these people who came from outside, they by rape and other methods, they had created some children. But that's a very small amount, you see. The real bulk of the Muslims today are people whose DNA is the same as mine. And if the DNA is the same as mine, that means your ancestors are Hindus. Because I'm sure my ancestors were Hindus.
Dr. Swamy, I have a question. Dr. Swamy, I have a question. When we talk of reviving our past, we are also referring to our culture, our Sanskrit language, our various other practices, or rewriting our proud history. So I think we all Indians should be proud of reviving our past, of our culture, history, and all that, and really present the true history to our country. So it's not only regarding our two more temples, but it is this glorious past which we must be also proud of. This is what many of our viewers are feeling, and you also have expressed. Just wanted your comments on this.
No, see, first, one of the most weakening aspects of our society is the Varna system. People loosely say caste system. Caste is only for marriages, it's jati. We call it in Sanskrit, we call it as jati. And that is so that, blood groups, you have to be very careful when you're getting married. Two people are getting married, that their blood groups are not something which are antithetical to each other. So that's why the jati was originally thought of. But Varna is a thing which did go on some degradation when the untouchability came in, not from time immemorial. It is perhaps about 1,500 years earlier the process started, but the real expansion of the scheduled castes began when the invaders of the country made certain Hindus do certain despicable acts, and in that process, these people got separated from the society. But if you read Gita, you know that there is no such thing as born Brahmin, born Kshatriya, born. They are all gunas. And Krishna over and over again says is all gunas. So therefore, I think what is happening is what's happening is that today in the Ram Mandir matter, nobody is talking about the Varna at all. Nobody is talking about I'm a South Indian, North Indian, East Indian, West Indian, nothing. Everybody is saying I'm a Hindu. That's a big, big, big development for our unity, and that should continue.
Okay, Dr. Swamy, I think we have already have 1 hour discussion. Now it's
Yes.
time for Arvind to wind up. But before that, I wish to make the announcement that Virat Hindustan Sangam will be having its annual meet at Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh on Ram Navami Day on the 17th of April, where Dr. Swamy will lead the VHS members for darshan of Ram Lala. And this is an invitation to all our members that this is a 2-day camp, 16th of April and 17th of April at Ayodhya. Thank you. Arvind?
Yeah, Dr. Swamy, just to add to what you said about the Varna and Jati, in Manu Smriti, people, of course, blame everything to Manu. In fact, in Manu Smriti, they say Janmana Jaite Shudra. That means everybody who is born is a Shudra. And it is the sanskar. It is the sanskar and the teaching which makes a person Brahmin or whatever. So, I mean, that is, if we go about the past, so it is not everything Manu has said is bad for dividing the society, but what he said is a fact, is a way of life, a discipline of life, and that is what is called dharma. But anyway, that is a little digression. So I thought we'll make this comment. And the question of polarization, every coin has two different sides. In fact, in my comments on earlier program, I've said that yes, there is a polarization in Indian society, and it is due to the political parties, including BJP. And the question is whether we look at it in positive side or we look at the negative side. But once we investigate last 50 years, 60 years politics, we find every political party has been doing this polarization in order to create a vote bank. And this vote bank has further deteriorated the harmony of the society and affected the unity. And now you already said that there are ways by which harmony can be restored in the society. Thank you very much, Dr. Swamy, for throwing light on this important subject today, because now we are entering a phase where in 2 months' time we will have election, and election against political parties will be using this caste equation, religious equation, and then try to divide the society or sort of polarize the society. Thank you very much for throwing the correct light. And Jagdish also, thanks Jagdish for informing our viewers about the Virat Hindustan Sangam's program in Ayodhya in the month of April, especially on the Ram Navami day. Thanks Ramesh, thanks the technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Swaminathan, Swaminarayan, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Tejas Navalgul, Vishal Mehta, Najesh Nair. We'll be meeting again next Sunday, 8 o'clock, with another topic and Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind.